Chapter 6 The Silver Ring of Sorcery. Stefen takes his first breath since escaping the enchantment of the ritual of perfect harmony. A constant connective awareness of all that is present in and escapes his sight rises within him as he looks over his surroundings. The table Stefen had made before the ritual still stands before him. However, all 8 pitchers in which he had placed the offerings to the spirits now sit empty atop it.
"The boy stirs,"
a horrible voice says in a bestial growl. It speaks using a language unfamiliar to Stefen, yet he quickly understands the meaning behind the animalistic speech.
"Return to the castle and alert."
The terrible beast continues to growl before another wicked voice cuts off the words of the first.
"I do not take commands from you,"
it snarls in the same language as the first.
"Should I wish to feast on the flesh of this foolish child, once so willing to deliver himself upon me? Who is she to—" "Silence your treacherous tongue, lest I rip it out of your mouth,"
the first voice responds.
"Our savior deserves your respect. She would be less than pleased should I report your treasonous words." "Say nothing, I beg you," the voice pleads in desperation. "Hunger clouds my mind. I know not of what I speak. I forget my place. It will not happen again."
The beasts of the sorceress, Stefen realizes, confused as to why he can understand the meaning behind their words. Through aligning my virtues and achieving perfect harmony, I now perceive clearly the workings of the realms, he thinks, remembering the warnings Kimonos had given him. Though fear nothing of this, for the spirits have and will continue to exist undisturbed. The difference lies only in your perception of them. While the warning of the goddess rings true, Stefen doubts it applies to the creatures that have been sent by the wicked sorceress. How long, I wonder, he thinks, have these 2 beasts been following me? If for so long they have lurked hidden from my eyes, when did they first begin to stalk my movements? His stomach quickly turns sour at recalling the words spoken by one of the voices. While one seems to have been stalking him on the orders of this sorceress, the other had notions of feasting on his flesh to sate its hunger. Stefen decides he must act quickly before the beasts change their mind and make a move against him. To buy him time so that he may plan what to do, Stefen begins acting as though the enchantment is still upon him, and suddenly the creatures begin to speak once more.
"Should such words slip from your lips again,"
the voice snarls quietly,
"I will have no choice but to hand you over for re-enchantment. Our lady does love to practice her arts." "Yes,
the second voice growls stutteringly.
"It shall not happen again. For your sake, I hope you mean it,"
the other responds.
"We have spent too long following him, tracking the gem only to lose it now. She orders us to wait for his ritual to reach completion before we steal the gem. Otherwise, it shall not possess the power she requires."
They seek the gem, Stefen thinks. I must stop them. But their continuing conversation causes him to pause, continuing to listen.
"When we told her of the priestess and the gem she had given the boy, our sorceress demanded we wait until the power of the stars has been drawn into the gem. Once this is done, may we kill him and take it to her, but not until it holds the necessary power."
His mind is made up. Though alone by the riverside, Stefen can think of little he can do to save himself. His eyes slowly look over his materials, careful not to alert the beasts of his consciousness. This is when his eyes fall upon the silver handle of the icy white bow. If only I had something to distract them, then I would be able to line up a shot against the beasts. A brilliant idea flashes across his mind. So Stefen waits for a few moments until the creatures have begun speaking again. Once this happens, he swiftly whispers the word, "Alfie," into the open air, before there comes a burst of wind, followed by a small flash of green light. Stefen's eagle appears crouched in a tree across the river from him, his eyes gazing deeply into Stefen's as though reading his very thoughts. Distract them, he thinks, for a mere moment before the eagle takes flight, sending out the echoing snapping of branches and rustling of leaves as he does so.
"Did you see what it was?" one of the monsters snarls. "I heard something moving in the trees." "Yes, there was a flash of green before some birds scattered from the treetops," the other responds. "But where is the boy? He's vanished."
Using the distraction, Stefen has snuck away unbeknownst to the creatures and now sits aiming an arrow at the center of one of their hearts. Finally, in a safe place, Stefen is able to fully take in the appearance of the conversing creatures, their shape just as monstrous as their speech. Their bodies and heads are that of fierce lions, with sets of leathery black wings lying folded across their backs. In the place where a lion's tail should have gone, a blind and eyeless yellow viper rises upward, its tongue flickering out of its mouth as it tastes the heat in the air. The two of them sit on the other side of the river, crouching on the bank across from where Stefen had carried out the ritual.
Quickly, we must find...
The monster begins to say, but just as Stefen's fingers let loose the bowstring, an arrow is hurled with the force of winter's raging storms driving the shaft. It pierces to its heart, striking through its chest and out the creature's back, with a soft whoosh. Just as its head hits the ground with a dull thud, the other monster in one smooth motion jumps to its feet and using its terrible wings begins to fly straight towards Stefen. He knocks another bow, beginning to take aim at the creature, but it is too quick and crosses the river before Stefen has time to fire. Just as the beast reaches him, there's a blinding flash of emerald light as Alfie begins clawing at the lion-like eyes of the ferocious beast. Stefen stumbles backward, its claws thrashing wildly as the viper begins to strike blindly. Another flash of light issues, and Alfie vanishes before reappearing perched on Stefen's shoulder. The now blinded beast continuing to throw its limbs in all directions, attacking to kill anything it touches. Stefen takes a deep, calming breath before drawing the bowstring back to his cheek. He aims at the creature's heart before firing the bow. The beast stops moving the moment it is struck, falling lifeless into the river before the gentle waters carry the body away. "Let us leave before more find us," Stefen whispers, and Alfie chirps softly in agreement. He collects the remaining supplies left over from the ritual and places them back into the large sack he had used to carry them down. After double-checking that he has not left any trace of his coming or going behind, Stefen begins walking back to the castle longing for the safety of Pugum and Castrum. Before leaving, he commands Alfie to fly ahead, searching their paths for signs of any beast that may wish to cause them harm. There come no signs of monsters, leaving Stefen's return trip to be smooth as swift. He arrives at the glistening gates, finding their frozen bars wide open. The goddess Kimon is standing in the middle of them. "Welcome, Stefen. How fared the ritual?" she asks, using that sweet, familiar, honey-like voice. "Though more of a challenge than I originally thought," he says, "I stand before you aligned in perfect harmony with the realms." "Yes, I see," she says, leaning in to examine Stefen, almost as though seeing him for the first time. "You were well chosen indeed." "Thank you, my lady," he says. "Though chosen for what, if I may ask?" "You may not," she responds coldly, quickly moving the conversation along. "Your trip to the river, I trust it too went as well as the ritual?" she asks, gesturing for him to follow her into the castle. "It is true, the journey to the river was swift and without trouble," Stefen explains. "Yet upon completing the ritual and returning from its enchantment, my senses had become more developed with a deeper connection to the world around me." "Naturally," the goddess responds, the two of them exiting the courtyard and entering the castle's main entrance. "The moment I awoke, I began to hear strange voices," Stefen continues, "like the speech of animals. I knew not the words, but still I understood them. They spoke of the sorceress that you warned me of, she who lives in a terrible castle. They were there to steal the gem, but ordered not to seize it until we have finished working our sorceries upon it. One spoke even of tasting my flesh, though the other convinced him not to. Yet here you stand and in better condition than you left in," she says, intrigue in her voice. "How was your escape made?" she asks. He explains to her the appearance of the monsters and how both Alfie and the enchanted bow had helped him to escape and kill the beasts. "And once these two had been slain," she asks, "did you face more along the path back to my castle?" "No, my lady," he responds. "Before leaving the river, I sent Alfie ahead to scout the path I would need to take, and he saw none and alerted me it was safe to begin the short journey." "This pleases me, Stefen," she explains as the two of them pass his room, heading to a hallway that leads to a part of the castle he has not yet seen. They walk down a long and dark corridor, paintings of the gods and giants decorating the walls. The only light illuminating these in the darkness comes from a door, cracked open at the far end of the hall. "The time falls upon us for you to carry out the labor of unity," she says. "For this labor you shall set the gem into metal, creating a conduit of divine sorcery. Once done, we shall summon the powers of the stars and bind them with the blood in our veins. This conduit will be where both my divine sorceries and the celestial powers are stored, and from what you shall draw on to manifest such powers. Crafting a ring or necklace is typical, though the gem can be sent into anything forged of precious enchanted metal. Some even use their gems to create wands or staves to channel power through. But which path do you feel aligns with you? She asks. I shall forge a ring to channel such power, though I am tempted with notions of crafting a wand in its place. If I may ask, should I possess a sorceress wand of my own? Will it be as powerful as yours? He asks. In a way, yes, even more powerful, she begins. Though this is in versatility alone. None shall surpass mine when it comes to swaying frost or snow. I do not understand, he says. As a goddess, my body, blood, bone, and flesh is made up of pure divine energy. The might of my sorcery issues from within my very being. This, she says, materializing the wand in thin air, is but a prop I prefer to use, an inventive way through which I elect to manifest my power. She crosses her fingers violently around the wand, balling her hand into a fist where the handle once stood, the icicle-like shaft changing to snow and falling to the ground as she does so. Divine power, she says. That of the gods is second to none in all the realms. With a snap of my fingers I may cast spells you could never dream of, and in the blink of an eye I may cross dimensions and travel to anywhere I wish. Although beings like myself have been known to wield weapons when facing one another, no such tools are necessary to work our sorceries over the realms, for they are bound within our very blood. In truth, I need only to think a thought for my magic to be called upon. For example, she says as the two of them are effortlessly transported in a swirl of wind and snow, into a large cave. It has no ceiling, leaving a clear view of the night sky. The floor is decorated with several burning candles, systematically scattered upon it. In the center of the cave stands a small stone table with runes carved into its surface, the stars of the night sky shining brightly overhead. In truth, it is the same forces which binds the winds of frost solely to me, she continues, that grants you access to powers I shall never touch. Separation can be a curse. It is only through harmony, unity, that true power is sought. Your soul, as that of a man, was created with great potential by the primordial beings, the same beings whose blood created the first gods. Upon the death of the three primordials, their blood washed upon the realms, soaking into that which formed them to bring life to the first gods. The blood which flowed from the primordial of light washed over three aspects of the realms to form three new divine beings. From where can your blood be traced, my lady? He asks. Out of these deities, she says, Uranus of the sky, Fangarus of the moon, and Elias of the sun. My lineage can be traced to that of Uranus through my mother Eris. Because of the blood that gave life to these three beings was split evenly among them, each received only a fraction of the power and knowledge possessed by the primordial of light. Because my blood comes from air and sky to bring life to the winds of winter, my sorceries hold complete dominion over such powers, but they may too only influence these and no other. This is what kept me from granting you a companion of my own being. Because the divine energy which I am of, though tied endlessly to many aspects of the realms, hold no knowledge or ability of such as those arts, yet the primordials create man with intent, blessing them with the capability to become completely connected to the realms. It is this true harmony that gives you the potential to access and influence all aspects of the realms, rather than only that of the winds of winter, as I am bound. I understand, he says. Once the ritual is complete, I will be capable of summoning powers other than that of frost. He asks. Yes, in time you shall summon such forces, she explains, though these shall never rival that to which you are devoted. Your skill in sorcery shall only grow as you absorb the knowledge of the realms with the passing of time. Knowledge of such shall be necessary in your task ahead, though we shall speak more of that later. It was a ring you decided upon, if not the wand, unless I am mistaken, she says, extending a closed hand to Stefen before opening it to reveal a silver ring. True magnificence, he says, looking over the silver band. Its beauty lies not in its intricate shape, but rather in a specific quality that the silver seems to possess. He tilts and turns the gemless band, reflecting light in all directions, though the metal seems to have absorbed a fraction of the light that has fallen upon it. This slight sampling of the torchlight ripples within the silver surface, illuminating it like still burning coals frozen beneath sheets of ice. To invoke the power of the planetus, he asks, already sure of the answer, his fingertips tracing upon the 7 sigils that are etched into the silver. You are well studied, she says. We shall use their powers to bind that of the star we are to summon. Just as you serve me and my mother, the stars too find themselves governed by forces greater than them. It is through the ever-wandering forces of the planetus that we shall command the power of the stars to not only appear in, but stay eternally bound within the ring. This is what the sigils shall do for us. I understand, my lady, though I do not know if I am worthy of such a thing, he says. I never dreamed that such craftsmanship existed within the realms. This is deserving of divine hands, and mine are not fit for so pure of an object. Deserving of the divine indeed, she says, taking the ring into her own hands. For like your bow, it was crafted at Noidemurgius, the great forge of the giants. You must take great caution and even greater protection of this ring, for very few even among the gods possess such artifacts, though items forged through giants' crafts are often rendered indestructible even before their enchantment. Care of your faith and devotion is imperative, for this is how the ring shall be bound to and obey your command. In truth, it is beyond even the divine power of the gods to work with such skill in the forge. Only the secrets and sorcery of the giants shall produce such feats of magnificence as this, she says, gently placing the ring into Stefen's palm. I understand and do swear, my lady, he vows, to cherish and protect both the ring and my faith. I know you shall, she says. Now, are you ready to begin? She asks. Yes, he says, though what is expected of us during the ritual? First, I shall use my sorceries to set the gem into the silver band, she begins to explain. Once done, we will work together to freeze our blood, enchanting it to create 2 more gems to add alongside that which we already possess. After this, the crafting of the ring will be complete and ready for enchantment. You will then place it in the center of the table, she says, gesturing to the rune-carven stone mound that stands in the center of the cave. This is where you shall call upon the light of the stars. That which is bound to the freezing northern winds is called Fospagetu, the light of frost. History tells of her favorable response when sacrifices of blood are made to her as the sun moves through the 10th degree of Scorpius, just as it does tonight. She shall answer the summon when your blood burns atop the table in offering to her. As the blood burns, you will toss the ring into the flames atop the table. You shall do this when the air changes. Should everything be carried out smooth and successfully, the ring shall absorb the heat and flame of the fire, quenching its blaze and completing the ritual. I understand, he says. Though, why do the ritual of perfect harmony if I am not to see or speak to the stars? He asks. Birds and beasts living alongside people in the forest. This is harmony, she says, for each relies on another and each gives to another, purposefully or not. This cooperative harmony is necessary for life to prosper, yet harmony when perfect functions differently. Through perfect harmony, one does not help the wind to blow, but rather rushes forward as air, does not feed the bird in kindness, but feels its hunger in him. To know, we must truly understand, and we cannot understand truly that which is perceived as separate. Just as a tree cannot use the river until it becomes one with the water in root. Even through sorcery, man cannot sway the realms until he moves as one with it. It is true that some sorceries of a man can be done without perfect harmony. Through these, one may see their fortune in the stars, yet through the sorcery of the divine, that which requires harmony in its most perfect form, one may look through the ages lost and to come, gazing upon the realms using fiery eyes set into the sky. I understand, he says. I feel it. Perfect harmony. The air, wind, and sky breathing slow and speaking softly like a crowded whisper. In time, you shall hear all clearly rather than an overlapping whisper, she explains. When this is done, and all is understood individually, you may begin to study the secrets the realms speak of. Yet for now, your new perception has been developed very little. Thus you are left only to vaguely sense and feel rather than move and understand truly. These vague feelings you have, those that feel nearly as one with the dew among the grass, or the ants beneath their hill, these feelings of fresh wind in your lungs as you breathe, despite being enclosed within an underground cave, these are what is needed for the ritual. Spirits such as Fospagetu are not capable of creating a physical form, as I and the other divine beings may, their power being too pure and close to chaos to hold safely even within the realms. It is set to burn endlessly in the depth of the voids, yet even from such a distance their presence is felt. This eternal longing for experiences, their need and desire to not simply watch and affect, but join that which moves within the realms. This is how we shall bind the power of Fospagetu within the ring. While the light of Fospagetu is bound within it, she shall move among the realms in a way few stars have experienced, being of their moving whole rather than a distant shining part. I see. They wish to be more like us, he says. They shine bound and empowered by the will of their maker, yet yearn to be free of it as I am. It is time I grant this desire, he says, handing the silver band back to her. Very well, though take caution before we begin, she says. Unlike the other trials thus far, the sorcery which we are about to begin was created long before even I came to be. The incantations are originally spoken in the old tongue, which was only ever known by the primordials. I understand the differences in the language. Stefen interrupts confused. Between that which I speak, the tongue of man, and that the speech of creation which is used in spellcraft, yet I know nothing of the old tongue, having never come across it in my studies. Though it is named so, the speech of creation was not used to create the realms. This was done through the old tongue, a language spoken by the primordials. When they died and their blood washed over the realms, as we have discussed before, their power and knowledge divided into the new gods. Their knowledge and power of this language were too broken up. This language is from where the true names of all things are found, and by which one may completely dominate and command the realms, while the speech of creation as you know it is only biased off it. You see, the first gods fought for so long, seeking dominance over the realms, that even they had begun to forget the knowledge passed down to them. Once the fighting had ended and the ages of harmony were upon us, much of the old tongue had been lost, either through the simple act of forgetting or because some gods had been killed before sharing all they knew. Much lore regarding the old tongue is lost to time. The language we use for our incantations will serve our purposes, though because this sorcery was originally done using more potent spellcraft, you must perform it exactly as instructed. I understand, he says, though this slightly frightens Stefen. In all of his previous workings of sorcery, it was the simultaneous deployment of different mediums of spellcraft that lifted the pressure from his shoulders. While it is possible for a powerful sorcerer to summon the spirits using only their names, few can do so, for much knowledge of the old tongue is lost. Thus, sorcerers had to employ further measures to empower their twisted versions of the ancient words. Because of this, if Stefen mispronounced a word, it did little to tamper with the spell. For the other spellcrafts he had employed, things such as his dancing, sigils, offerings, and incense would pick up the slack with the power they added to the incantation. Yet because this sorcery originally required the full power behind the words of the old tongue, which are now lost to the ages, Stefen must be careful not to make a single mistake in his workings. Very well. If you are ready, she says, extending both hands to him, palms up. On her right she holds the silver band, while on her left she holds the white gem Stefen had retrieved. She cups her hands together, holding pressure as though forming a small ball of snow. A sound like a thunderstrike accompanied by a flash of cold blue light echoes throughout the cave, before Kimonis sets the ring, now in one piece, onto the stone table. For the sorcery of the blood you will need this, she says, handing him a small silver knife no more than 4 inches long, its blade etched with a design that causes it to look as though frozen over and covered in frost. Use the blade to cut the tip of your finger, though take care not to slice too deep, she instructs. Stefen's hands slightly shaking, he takes the blade from her, feeling its metal cool to the touch between his fingers. He places the pad of his thumb onto the very tip of the blade before pressing in and sliding it upward just slightly. A small pearl of crimson rushes forth from his skin before the goddess takes the knife and does the same. Yet when her blood comes forth, it shines the brilliant color of molten gold. She snaps her fingers, sending blood rushing from the cut on Stefen's finger, and soaring into the air, meaning hers as it does too. The beads of crimson and golden blood swirl in the air, mixing with one another before falling to the stone table. 2 crystalline gems, the color of blood yet flaked with gold, now sit atop the rune-carved table. Excellent, she says, picking up and holding the ring and gems tightly within her hand. Another flash of blue light issues before Stefen lays eyes on the completed ring. A silver band set with 3 glistening gems. The one in the middle is the large icy gem of sorcery, accompanied on both sides by scarlet gems that glisten with soft golden light. Kimonis picks up the ring before turning to Stefen and handing him an open book which she seems to have pulled seemingly from thin air. The sigil of Fospagetu, use your blood to draw it upon the table, she instructs. Using the slightly dripping wound, Stefen traces his thumb over the table, feeling the many runes carved into its surface as his blood pours over them. Filling them up in the sigil's shape, the incantation is written on the page before the sigil, Kimonis explains. It must be spoken as is written, confidently and with great authority, as you feel the eyes of the stars upon you while they listen. Eima ena mazizo, Stefen begins chanting boldly to the stars above him. Kai koita to prosopo mo. Alithina lampera kai agia asteria. He continues the rest of the prayer, and with each word spoken, Stefen spies the light of the stars gleaming down upon him, glowing brighter than they had been before. Now nearing the final lines of the prayer, Stefen feels the gaze of all the stars upon him as he speaks the prayer's final words. Opus eimai na eisai edo. He finishes, before continuing. Fospagetu. At this final word, the sigil of blood ignites upon the stone table, burning with red flame. Fixed aerial spirit of the freezing northern winds, I summon you. The entire table is engulfed in the fire of the burning sigil before the temperature of the room suddenly changes. The air instantly turns icy cold, as if Stefen has been caught amid a winter storm without a coat. You shall do this when the air changes, he remembers, tossing the silver ring into the scarlet flames. The fire begins to spin atop the table, whirling in the shape of a blazing tornado. The flames spin faster and faster until the twirling mass starts to shrink, retreating to the place on the table where the ring had landed. The scarlet flames begin to dissipate as the white gem absorbs the power of the spirit, until all that sits before Stefen is the completed Silver Ring of Sorcery, its gem now icy blue, burning slightly with scarlet flame. I assure you the flames have not heated it, she says, gesturing for him to take the ring. The moment he picks it up, a rippling wave of energy moves through his body, and as he places it onto his finger, a profound sense of power floods over him, an awareness of cold, bright light within him, flowing through his veins and filling his heart, not a forceful burning light like that of the fire in a dragon's breath, which he may send forth to cripple and burn those before him. Rather, it is a calm yet blazing light, that which does not burn but illuminates the way forward through divine radiance. The power it holds being of harmonious truth rather than that of force and domination. A great power over all the realms, though one not given in completion, for he must further develop his awareness of it. Now, she says, Stefen is nothing but frost. Frozen and gone is the boy I found in the woods. Before me stands Creophos, chosen of winter, and he who bears its ancient light, she says, dipping into a low bow. I do not understand, he says, though in truth the depths of his mind had begun to grasp that which she spoke. I once severed the sculpture will, that which bound and governed your fate, she explains, replacing it with designs of my own. To do this I gave you the only gift I may give to man, that of eternal service. This severed the sculpture's will and the power it held over you, replacing it and binding you to me. It is time the gods select their chosen to spread the divine voice among men, for soon we shall no longer be present among them. To guide mankind in the matters of winter, I have selected you for this. What do you mean by no longer present among them? He asks. Is it not the duty of the gods to watch over the realms? To him, it sounds as though she plans on leaving the terrestrial realm. It is the duty of the divine to help govern the natural order of the realms, she says. Though have you not noticed where it is my castle stands? She asks. This stung his pride, for even after all his time studying texts and exploring the castle, Stefen never learned its true location as hard as he tried to discover it. No, he says. You've declined to answer such questions each time I've asked them, though it could be some distant mountain far away from the village I grew up in. Let me ask you this, wise Creophos, she says. I've spoken of the giants and the tools they have made for you, but where is it that they live? She asks. The giants live in the Colisean Mountains, in the northernmost part of the known world. Some men have made attempts to venture through and see what lies on their other side, though none have survived the journey and returned. These Colisean Mountains, as you call them, Kimonos says, are indeed the home of the giants, and true men seldom survive crossing into their land. Yet what could lie beyond the lands of the giants? What could be so sacred that you must cross through some fearsome lands before arriving there? Kimonos asks, and in another explosion of swirling snow, the two of them are once again in the topmost tower of Pugman Castrum. They stand in a room where she had explained to him the nature of the stars, even making the walls go invisible so he could see the constellations up close. The walls around him, in fact, are clear as they had been before, allowing Creophos to see the land stretching away on all sides of the castle. The divine land, he says, realizing where he has been since Kimonos had rescued him many months ago. She had taken him not as he suspected to some far-off kingdom or distant shore, but rather to the mythical land of gods. The divine land, it is said, for no mortal yet knows the truth of it, exists at the furthest edge of the realm, at the point where our world meets the next. From here, if the tales are to be believed, one could escape our terrestrial realm and enter that of the divine or the infernal, though what dwells there has yet to be seen by mortal eyes. It is indeed, she says, that which lies beyond the land of Colossia as the divine land of gods and monsters, though not all gods live here, for some choose to dwell in the infernal or divine realms. This is a place set aside for that which the world of man is not yet ready for. Monsters created by accident have been sent to these mountains to live out their days, or gods and beings wishing to perfect their magic before unleashing it upon the world of men. Soon it shall be against the eternal laws that bind even the divine, for us to stay too long in the world of men, and so it is the duty of a goddess to seek one to represent them. Man must continue to grow and learn, but of their own accord. If the gods were to assist at every slight struggle or challenge, your species would weaken and no longer be able to serve its function within the realms. It is through choosing a select few among you to be the voices of the gods within the world of man that the gods shall be able to shape the world as it must be shaped. Doing anything more than this would lead to catastrophe, bringing upon us the failure of mankind and leading to the collapse of all the realms. I understand, he says. Our current age of harmony is soon to end. Yes, she says. When the gods were born, we had great power, though no instructions on how to use it. Naturally, the most powerful gods began to make war over who would rule the realms. After centuries, however, we all learned to live and work in unison with one another. The Age of Harmony began when all of the gods and goddesses stopped their fighting, learning to govern the realms in harmony. The ages of heroes are soon to come, and once that time is upon us, the gods must take less of a role in the world of man. This is when I will need you, my dear Creophos. Once I, alongside my divine kin, retreat to the other realms, it will be in the hands of our disciples and priests to help shape the world as it must be shaped. Why must you leave? Stefen asks. Our realm is a better place with you here. Your knowledge and power could be invaluable to the race of man. Think of... Man will never learn to acquire or wield knowledge and power if their problems are always solved by greater beings. And Stefen understands what the goddess means. Man would turn weak and helpless if the gods magically fixed all of their issues. Once this age of hero arrives, he says, it shall be my responsibility to share your wisdom among men. Yes, once you have learned much more than you know now, Kimonos responds. I shall send you forth into the realm of man, where you will erect a temple in my name. The temple of Kimonos will act as the central location for my worship, and to where all must travel to if they wish to seek my guidance during the ages to come, she explains, gesturing to the land south of the castle. Though the Age of Heroes is nearly upon us, we have time still before it truly dawns, and I have many more secrets to teach you before that day comes, she says, leading Creophos out of the room and once again down the winding stone stairwell that leads to the rest of the castle.